My name is Navjot Singh Kharoud. So I'm a registered migration agent. So here to help you guys with your migration pathways. Today we will be talking about pathways for marketing and HR occupations. During our live, feel free to send us questions, send us messages if you want to talk about anything in particular, and we'll try to help you as much as we can. Okay, so just a little bit about myself. So that's myself. I am a migration agent. I did a graduate diploma in migration law. You can see my migration number, and I have about five to 6 years of experience in this migration industry. I've been working with Aussizz for over 2 to 3 years at our Elizabeth branch next to Flinders Street. So yes, feel free to give us anything that you want to talk about in particular, but let's start with our agenda for today. So as I mentioned, we will be talking about some of the PR pathways for marketing and HR occupations. What would be the skill assessment requirements? What would be the pathways? Which visas would you be eligible for? How many points you require? So we will try to go as much detail as we can as time allows. But if you have anything particular that you would want to ask us, as I said, just shoot us a message and we will take it from there. Just a bit of an introduction of so in terms of the marketing and HR professionals, for you to be able to gain permanent residency in Australia, there are technically two different pathways that you may be eligible for. The first one would be general skilled migration, which we also refer to GSM, and the other one would be a employer nomination pathways, whether it's a temporary visa or a permanent visa. As you guys would know, these visas require you, of course, relevant work experience. You need certain English requirement, and most importantly, a positive skill assessment. So we will be touching bases on some of the skill assessments criteria. But before we go ahead, we'll talk about some of the career options that you may have, some of the designations that you may have, and you are trying to figure out which would be the right pathway. So I have put some designations there. These designations doesn't necessarily mean that it requires a PR pathway. Maybe the PR pathway would be somewhat bit different for them, but just to kind of give you guys an idea about what would be the designations that we will be talking about. So the most important being marketing specialist, advertising specialist, there would be marketing research analyst, recruitment consultant, human resource manager, sales and marketing manager. So not all of them would be under the same umbrella, but to a certain extent they would be still maybe close related. Maybe some duties and responsibilities will be close to each other. There's so most of these occupations are looked after by two main authorities. One is a VETASES. I'm sure you guys would have heard about VETASES, and the other one is a IML. So I will touch bases with VETASES first. So VETASES would take occupations such as human resource advisor, recruitment consultant, management consultant, marketing specialist, or advertising specialist. On the other hand, with IML, Institute of Managers and Leaders, this will only touch bases or mainly touch occupations which are at manager level. For example, human resource manager and a sales and marketing manager. As I said, if you guys are just joining now, please feel free to put any messages that you guys want us to explore. Maybe it's related to this, maybe it's not. We'll try to help you as much as we can. Moving on, so with VETASES skill assessment, so VETASES skill assessment, it's for most people, the qualification would be related to consultants, marketing, or management. Usually, with vertices occupations, they require you to have a minimum bachelor degree. Along with it, also accepts some certificate or diploma level qualifications as well. Really depends on occupation to occupation, but I will try to cover more of a generic information, or which is most applicable to most of the occupations. Um, so as I said, the qualifications normally would require you to be highly relevant for the nominated occupation, and for a positive skill assessment outcome, your qualification and your employment both need to be assessed positively for you to get a positive skill assessment. So as I said before, you would require a qualification which would be highly relevant. Um, After qualification, at least a 1 year of post-qualification employment at an appropriate skill level in past 5 years is a must. With these occupations, with vertices occupations in particular, you can also work 20 hours per week and get a skill assessment positively as well. Of course, keeping in mind that your duties and responsibilities must be highly relevant to the main occupation as well. So the way it would go is that, for example, you have um, bachelor's of marketing, bachelor's of business, majoring in marketing, and you have 1 year of marketing specialist experience. So then you would follow under that category, that you have bachelor's plus 1 year of post qualification experience. If in other cases, for example, you do not have bachelor's in business in marketing, however you have bachelor's of business in a other major, for example accounting, and you do a diploma in marketing, you would also meet the requirements for VETAS skill assessment. However, your employment experience may be either 2 years or 3 years, depending on the occupation. As I said, each occupation will have their own different occupation, sorry, the experience requirements depending on your qualification. So as I mentioned in my second point, if the qualification is not highly relevant, then the application must have 3 years of post qualification at an appropriate skill level, working at 20 hours per week in last 5 years. If they have an additional qualification which is at AQF level diploma, then the experience may be reduced to 2 years. This is applicable to most of the qualifications, or sorry, most of the occupations in VETASES. So as I said, really depends on occupation to occupation, but for a general idea, this is the assessment requirements. Moving on with IML skill assessment, I have put a human resource manager there just for an example. Of course, there are other occupations which come under the IML skills assessment as well, but the main requirements for this is that if you're holding a relevant bachelor's or a master's degree, which is equivalent to an Australian qualification, then you must be in a HR related role for at least 3 years. And in those 3 years, you must be working at a managerial role for at least 2 of those 3 years. This is also applicable to other occupations as well. For example, sales and marketing manager. Most of them have a very similar criteria, but at the same time, if let's say that you do not hold a relevant bachelor degree or a relevant master degree, then your experience would be required at a HR related role for at least 5 years. And in those 5 years, you must be working at a managerial role for at least 2 of those 5 years. It's pretty straightforward in the sense to understand the gist of it, but of course, in terms of application to application, there might be other information that may be required. For example, with the IML skills assessment, in terms of your qualification and experience. At the same time, these occupations will also require, also talking about, sorry, wet assessed as well. These occupations may also require an organization chart and a detailed duties and responsibilities, how you were able to do the duties either as a manager or, let's say, a marketing specialist, for example. Um, Moving on, what would be the relevant permanent residency pathways? As we stated initially in our consultation, sorry, in our meeting, there would be general skill migration pathways. There would be a temporary skill shortage, 482, employer sponsorships, visas. All these visas are available if you go through these HR or marketing roles, right? Just to kind of touch bases on our general skilled migration. Now, with general skill migration, of course, we are talking about subclass 189, subclass 190, subclass 491. Everyone is aware you must have a competent English. Your occupation must be either on a medium to long-term list or a short-term list. Depending on where your occupation is, you can either apply into 189 or apply 190. You may be able to apply for multiple subclasses at the same time, or you may only required to apply for either 190 or 491, depending on where your occupation is. Of course, this is subject to states as well. Some states may only ask you to apply for one, either 190 or 491. For example, Victoria only wants you to apply either 190 or 491, compared to other states where you have an opportunity to apply for 189, 190, or 491 respectively. So pretty straightforward, pretty general information there in terms of the main requirements. As you know, skill assessment is required everywhere, keeping in mind that it's a full skill assessment, um, minimum 6 each, IELTS or equivalent in PTE. So 189 is an independent visa, which is a permanent visa. 190, you would require at least 60 points independently, plus 5 points can be given by the state, depending on your sponsorship or your state nomination requirements. At the same time, of course, it's a permanent visa as well. And then last but not least, we talk about subclass 491. Now, 491 can be either a regional state sponsorship, or it can be a relative sponsorship as well. Subclass 491, family sponsorship, really depends on your occupation. As I mentioned again, if your occupation comes under the medium to long-term list, then you're free to apply for 189, 190, 491, whether it's through the state sponsorship or whether it's through the family sponsorship. If your occupation comes under the short-term list, then you may only be limited to apply for whether subclass 190 or subclass 491. Now, with subclass 491, sure everyone's aware, 5 years of visa leading to permanent residency, which is a subclass 491. After 3 years of holding a subclass 491, you may be eligible to apply for 191, depending on whether or not you meet the requirements. Keeping in mind it's a regional visa, so once you hold a visa, you must be living in regional. If you want to study, only in regional. If you want to work, of course you'll be working, but working in regional only. And in terms of the income, as we are aware, income requirement has not been updated yet for subclass 191, but we may see that in upcoming future, whether the department brings a legislative instrument talking about 191, um, increasing, whether they will be implementing the income threshold or not. Moving on, subclass 482 visa. This is a employer sponsorship visa. Generally, you would be eligible for this when you would have had 2 years of full-time experience in last 5 years. Um, During your study, you may also be working, whether you were studying a master level course or a bachelor level course, um, part-time. If it was a part-time employment, it can be calculated on a pro rata basis. What basically that means is 1 year of part-time employment will be considered as a 6 month of full-time experience. Normally, if you've done either a bachelor degree or a master degree in Australia, you would be getting either 2 years or 3 years of subclass 485 visa. That is a very important time where you will be gaining employment, gaining that experience, which would help you to target the criterias or target the visas that you are after. When I'm talking about subclass 482, 482 requires you 2 years of experience, keeping in mind that before this, you may also have a subclass 485 visa. So the way the pathway you would plan is, while holding a student visa, when you're about to finish your course, you'll be looking for employment, apply for 485 visa. Depending on your duration, that's when you will start gaining employment. As an example, marketing specialist, you have done a master's degree in marketing major, then you will require 1 year of experience, which you will be holding, which you'll be getting during your 485. Once you complete 1 year of experience, you would apply for a skill assessment, which will make you eligible to apply for subclass 190 and 491. During the time that you wait, you may also explore a subclass 482, which would help you to stay for another, depending on the occupation. If it's under a short-term list, you could get 2 years and then apply for 2 years. Or if it's under the medium to long-term list, you would be able to get a 4 years and then maybe transitioning into permanent residency after 3 years through the transition period, 186 transition stream, or you may like to apply for 186 direct entry as well. So just in a nutshell, for 482, 482 for medium to long-term lists, for the occupations which will be coming under. While holding a 482, you're more than welcome to apply for 189, 190, 186 direct entry, keeping in mind that your occupation will be under the that you have the relevant skill assessment, and then while being on a 482, you have skilled employment. You can apply for 189, 190, and once you have completed the required experience, you then further can go on to 186. Of course, there are temporary visa options available as well. You could potentially go on a 491 if you're living in a regional area. You may choose to go on a another 482 visa if it's if it's required, or you could also choose to go for a 494, depending on whether or not you're living in a regional area or not. Just to touch bases on the short-term occupation list as well. So with the short-term list, you would be eligible to apply for subclass 190. Temporary visas would be subclass 491, subclass 482. Maybe while holding a 482, you could extend those visas as well. This is also a great opportunity. If your occupation comes under the short-term list, you can always apply for these visas and then um, gain that experience, gain those points for you to be able to get that permanent residency. Subclass 186 is a employer nomination scheme. Usually applicants would have full-time 3 years of experience post-qualification. Working 3 years on a full-time can also help you get a pathway through a transition stream if your occupation is under the medium to long-term list. Age requirement is of 45 years, and skill assessment is a mandatory requirement for a direct entry stream. There is a transition stream where you may not require a skill assessment. So if it's something that if there is an occupation that you have been working, however, you do not have a relevant qualification, but you have relevant experience, so maybe a transition stream might be a correct pathway for you. Of course, everything depends on application to application. You can always connect with us to guide you or to make a correct PR pathway for you. Um, then we move on to a subclass 494. Subclass 494, normally you would also have 3 years of full-time experience in this. You must have a skill assessment in this as well. You must be under 45 years old, and the PR pathway would be leading to a subclass 191. Very similar to a subclass 491 pathway, where main difference is subclass 491 goes through the state sponsorship. Subclass 494 requires you an employer to sponsor you. When we are talking about 482, 494, or 186, remember that companies may require you to, the companies itself need to be a sponsorship accredited, meaning that they need to lodge their sponsorship with the department. Then they will be lodging a nomination application nomining you as an individual working in the company for that particular role. And once the nomination is approved, then of course the visa application will come in play. Once all these applications can be lodged simultaneously, or I should say respectively, sponsorship, nomination, and then visa application. You can always wait for each application to be approved and then apply as well, depending on your visa expiry as well. The most important thing about HR or marketing or any sort of these occupations which come under this umbrella is the work experience. So work experience not only is important for you to get XYZ employer sponsorship or a state sponsorship, but the main requirement for everything is your work, sorry, I should say skill assessment. Now, skill assessment can only be obtained through a positive qualification assessment and a positive work experience assessment. So you may have a qualification, but may not have the relevant work experience. So as I said, that's why work experience is the most important in the whole gist of the HR or marketing related roles. You would require minimum 1 year of experience to get a skill assessment, and then further applying for employer sponsorships or state sponsorship visas. But keeping in mind 1 year of experience, whether it's 20 hours per week or full-time 38 hours per week, would be a must. Without the relevant experience, this may not be the right pathway for you. I think we're about to come to an end. So just a summary, keeping in mind, guys, you can put some more questions, give me more questions if you have anything, whether it's related to HR, marketing, or something else. More than happy to help you with your queries. But in terms of the summary, what we have discussed is step one is to get skill assessment. Of course, gather points, check your eligibility for the state sponsorships, um, and then apply for expression of interest, state nomination, be invited to lodge a visa, get a visa grant, and be a part of this beautiful Australian community, right? So, of course, in this, there are a lot of careful steps that you need to take, whether or not your employment is relevant, whether or not you are at that hierarchy in terms of your particular occupation. These occupations are very crucial to be discussed with your agent. Make sure you are clear about what the exact requirements are and how you can get a skill assessment for you to be able to get to the step 6, which is a visa grant, that happy email that we all want. Um, so just an information, of course, we are in Victoria at the moment, so we can tell you we have a lot of offices which are very nearby to your suburbs. You can type in Aussizz group near me on Google, and it will find you our nearest branch next to you. Of course, the Collins Street is in head office, is in Melbourne. Then we have other offices all around Victoria, whether it's north, south, southeast, west. So all the different branches I've put there so far. If you require any other help from us apart from a migration, you can always go into our other streams, which is, if you require PT help, may require NATI help, may require PR, professional year services, health insurance services. Feel free to message us. Feel free to go into that online website. There are lots of different market information available, which is free for you guys to use, especially our website or an app called Aussizz. It will give you all the information which is required for your particular occupations. What are the duties and responsibilities? What are the skill level? And what could be the positive or the other skill assessment requirements? So that's about it from my end, as I put my contact details there as well for you guys. If you require anything, if you want to ask me anything directly or maybe talk about your case in much more detail, feel free to email me, feel free to give me a call. I'll be more than happy to help you from there. And now I will finish this. I'll finish this meeting as well. Just before I let you, finish, I'll just make a thing. We have also opened in Cranbourne, and we are soon coming to Geelong as well. So Aussies will be there for you. Just all you have to do is just go on Google and find the closest branch. Be more than happy. We have heaps of good migration agents working with us. They'll be able to provide you a good pathway which you can plan for another 2-3 years depending on what visas you're after. So yeah, feel free to message us. We'll be able to help you from there. All right, so I'll take some questions. If I am not able to get to you, I apologize. You can message me directly as well, but I'll take a message from Nitesh Ratnani. I have 90 points for 190 and 85 for 109. Currently employed as a chemical engineer in WA. How good are my chances? I understand it is not a guarantee. Um, I believe, Nitesh, of course, require more information, but of course, I think your points are great. I'm assuming that you're touching all the necessary points that you can have. Um, Keeping in mind, I don't know how long visa you have left, but I would say with 189, 190, I would say you do have good chances. Keep in there. You're employed. If you're employed, If your visa is running out, I would also recommend you to maybe explore employer sponsorship pathways as well. In the meantime, you could always wait for 189 and 190. The best thing or the good thing is that you are currently employed, I'm assuming, in your nominated occupation. So I would say wait. Of course, something up will come for you. What are my chances as a cable joiner, um, line mechanic? Sorry, I'm not able to maybe pronounce your name correctly, but it really depends on where you're at, how many points you currently hold. I would say it depends on the state sponsorship criteria. So will not be able to give you an exact information with that particular um, cable joiner or line mechanic. I do recommend you to maybe speak to me. I have given you my contact detail. Just give me a call. Maybe after this, I'll be able to kind of help you in a much more detail. Um, Israel, please, what effect does exceed work hours have on someone visa application? What effect does exceed work hours have on someone visa application? I'm assuming that you're talking about working more than what you are supposed to. Maybe I have that wrong, but correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe you're asking me if you have, let's say, 24 or 48 hours per fortnight, and you can that you're only allowed to work on student visa, and now you are working maybe full time. um, I believe that's what you're asking, but the consequences for um, these sort of things are when you are claiming employment points. If you're breach in your condition, you will not be able to claim points for that. The department can come back to you and be like, during this time you have breached the condition. We will not take this as a skilled employment. Other possible outcomes would be that, if you're working on a student visa, which you're not supposed to, full time especially, then department can also come and try to cancel your visa as well. So you have to be very careful in terms of whether or not you should be working full time or part time. This can have effect now or may have effect in future as well. Remember that when you're breaching a condition, it will always bring negative things. It will never bring a positive sort of response for you. Hina Sharma, I did my Masters of Commerce in India and I have 4 years of experience as a clerk in a government department. Am I eligible for any kind of permanent visa? Hina, I might require a bit more information in terms of your duties and responsibilities. You've worked as a clerk in government department. There might be something available for you in a vet assess. Whether or not it might be a 491 or a 494, I cannot think of on top of my head which occupation it is, but I have come so far. Um, Feel free to message me. I'll put down my contact details. There might be a possible visa option for you. You've done a bachelor's and a master's in India. Assuming that you have 4 years of experience, which will be full time, given that we can also, you worked in a government department, so I'm assuming that your, pay slips, bank statement should be all good. It will all depend on your duties and responsibilities, which department you were working under, and what were you required to do. um, Most likely it will be through vet assess. As I said, vet assess, if it's closely related, you require 1 year of experience. If it's not closely related, then 3 years of experience can substitute the highly relevant qualification requirement. So there might be something. I'll need to have a discussion. I'll need to have look at your resume properly, for me to kind of see what sort of duties and responsibilities that you were doing, and which sort of government sector or which sort of department that you're working under. I hope that helps you. Saad says, which state is good for mechanic right now? I'm in Victoria. Saad, it's very a personal question. Normally, I try not to give a very general information in terms of the states, but we have not seen not many invites for um, mechanics, especially for Victoria in past 2 3 years. I can say, unfortunately, um, I believe maybe Western Australia for you might be good, given that you can meet their graduate, the Schedule 2 requirements, which would be either a 491 or a 190 with the job offer. Or you can also explore maybe a Tasmania. Tasmania requires you 6 months of experience minimum in Tasmania law, and also the company or the employer that you have must also be working or established for 3 years. So um, I would recommend, now that states have slowly started to open, I recommend you to kind of get a detailed consultation from our migration agents. They will be able to help you. But as for now, I can say Victoria does not seem to be very happy with mechanics. You may also explore 482 subclass 186 options if you are already working in your nominated occupation. Which state is good for cook? Again, cook would normally you would apply for a 190 or a subclass 491. Really depends on your occupation. Really depends on your points. I would say most of the states, given how less the seats that they have, they do require for you to be living there already. They do require for you to be working, preferable. Um, in terms of the state, maybe it will be a 491 that you would like to explore. I would recommend you to kind of book a meeting with us, just so that we can check how much experience you have, how many points you have, and then on that basis we can give you a more um, personalized information. Siam Rebbe, there has to be minimum 3 years experience in last in 5 years or not for 186. um, I'm aware of it in the I don't think it's for 186. We can double check that for you, but it does require it for 482. We can have a look, but it does require you a full-time experience, your post qualification experience. Post qualification experience will depend on your nominated occupation, if you have a bachelor's or a master's, but normally I would say 3 years. I can double check for you in terms of whether it's in last 5 years or not. Can't think of it on top of my head. Aman Ahuja, question regarding my brother. He's done bachelor's, master's in science in physics, and PhD in physics in dark energy. Which skill assessment he could go for, and can he apply for offshore 491, 190, and 189? I mean, for this one, most likely it will come through a wet assess requirement. Wet assess normally requires you at least 1 year of experience. So whether or not he has experience, I'm assuming he's done PhD, whether or not he's employed right now as well, given how much of experience he has in his particular field, we can choose to pick an occupation. He's done a PhD, so depends on how much experience he has. We can go for a scientist sort of related occupation. Um, I will need to check in terms of the duties and responsibilities, because as I said, wet assess requires you a positive qualification assessment, which must be closely related to the nominated occupation, but also requires you a positive skill assessment, or sorry, positive employment assessment nominated related to the nominated occupation. So both the qualification and employment needs to be closely related to the occupation. given how there's a science degrees, science sort of qualifications lead to have sort of a very vast or a very big area that they can go into. So it depends on the actual duties and responsibilities, as I said. Um, I'll take the next question. I've done production and industrial engineering. I have 4.2 experience in business excellence and Lean Six Sigma in mining industry. What is the most suitable profile and country for my career growth? Kanishka, I can only advise you about the Australian migration, can't advise you about the country. Of course, I will say Australia, of course. Um, Production and industrial engineering, these occupations or these sort of work, especially in engineering, given that you do have an experience there as well. Um, may also be positive assessment. You'll need to look into whether through Engineers Australia need to get a skill assessment from there and then potentially apply for 190491. I'm assuming that you may not be actually in Australia, given that you're asking for a um, country for your career growth. You can always book a consultation with us. We also provide a meeting, Teams meeting as well, like this, just to kind of give you a more personal sort of information. At the moment, I would say first step for you to be first you need to look at your duties and responsibilities, and then if you're an offshore person, we can go for multiple states where you are most likely there will be Western Australia or New South Wales, that will be a positive states for you. What are the chances for computer networking and system engineer? 85 points for 190 visa offshore. Please answer. Also, what about 90 points for recruitment consultant offshore for 190 visa? So computer network system engineer, if you have 85 points for 190 offshore, also recommend you to apply for 189 as well. Given that you are offshore, you can apply for multiple states. You can apply for sorry, Victoria, other states. Many states are open at the moment. I do see good chances. 189 has over 30,000 seats this financial year. Not sure when the rounds will be, but I can hope for a big round again, which happened last December. Almost 30,000 people got invited. So I would say to keep your fingers crossed. And of course, I know 190 visa would be preferable, but keep an option open, apply for 189, 190, and 491 as well. But I do see good chances of going 190 through as well. In terms of a recruitment consultant, remember these are VETSS HR related occupations. I would say to explore options even in ACT. Apply for Victoria. Victoria is open for everybody, and also see if you can apply through a Tasmania or Western Australia as well, whether or not the occupation is there. I am going to stop taking more questions given that we have come to our time. I do encourage you guys to please give me a message, message us, give us a call, go into our website and put your questions. We'll get our team to help you as quickly as we can. Of course, these information or questions that I'm answering, they are very general in the sense because I am missing a lot of information. If you require a particular or more guided or more personalized meeting with us, just message us. We'll be more than happy to help you. I'll just take the last question. Arnav, I am a Bachelor of Science, IT graduate, completed 1 year of experience in data science, 15 years of completed 1 year of I'm not able to understand the PG, but I'll 15 years of experience, positive assessment from ACS in 2016, system analyst. I am in the same company now. Sorry, yeah, postgraduate. Sorry, my bad. I'm not sure why I'm not able to hear that properly. I'm a Bachelor of Science, IT graduate, completed 1 year of postgraduate in data science, 15 years of experience, positive assessment, ACS in 2016, system, and I'm in the same company now. What are the chances in 189 PI? First thing first, Arnav, recommend you to get your ACS skill assessment renewed if it's not already. I'm seeing 2016, so may that might already be expired, so recommend you to renew it if it's not done already. Given that you have a lot of experience in 15 years of experience, I do see that you are one of those candidates which the government or Australian department wants. I do recommend you to, of course, keep your options open. When you're saying 189 chances, I do see 189 chances being good, depending on how many points you have. Given that I'm assuming you have 15 years of experience, so you may be losing some age points as well. Um, so depending on your points, I would recommend you to keep your 189 there and also apply for state sponsorship 190s in a respective states as well. There will there will be remember that onshore and offshore to certain extent, even though onshore people may not like it, or whatever the recruitment or the picking option is for expression of interest, offshore applicants are generally hired or picked as well. We saw that in last financial year, where a lot of people for 189 got picked at much lower points for people compared to who were already living in Australia. So I do see good chances, but make sure your all the PTE, your skill assessment outcomes or skill assessment requirements are up to date. Have everything up to date, keep it ready. I would assume that there might be some big round happening in upcoming month, maybe a month or two. Hopefully in December, so everyone can have a nice Christmas, nice New Year's close of the year, which it was last year. So all the best. Okay, so last my recommendation would be to, of course, keep double checking, triple checking your points. Make sure that if something is about to expire in 2 to 3 months, you should already be on top of it. Reapply your assessment, do that PTE, do that NATI if it's required, just so that if something comes up in future, you do not get um, into that problem where some of your document is not available to use anymore. So which may lead to a visa refusal. Okay. All good, guys. So thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate all the questions that you've asked. Really made it a bit of interactive. I apologize if I was not able to answer or give you a much more information on it. I recommend you to please get in touch with us. You can get in touch with me directly if you wish, and you can also get in touch with of any of our migration agents. We have over 30 migration agents, if not more, all over Australia working to help you. And we will be, we'll be there to plan your PR pathway, whether it's upcoming in 1 year or in 2 3 years. So recommend you to get that professional advice just so that you know what you're looking at in next upcoming year. It's always good to be prepped. Remember that half knowledge is dangerous knowledge. So keep up to date. Wish you guys all the best. If there's anything that you guys require, feel free to message us. Thank you again for joining.